Many of the ancient megalithic sites and structures, such as stone circles, pyramids and temples, which are located all over the world, were built thousands of years ago in the BC era, before Christ. These ancient structures were all aligned to other places and sites of significant importance, as well as perfectly being aligned with the cosmos. All are connected to what is now referred to as the crystalline grid. Many credible studies and research has been carried out in recent years, strongly suggesting that these sites are considered as advanced technology power plants on a gigantic scale. Were these sites stopped being built as we moved into the new era of AD? Or are they still being built, though hidden in plain sight? In this video, we'll be looking at a 20th century city, exploring the similarities in symbology, materials, and why they are built in certain locations, to see if some of the modern cities we see today could in fact have been designed with similar intention, design, purpose as the ancient sites, using ancient wisdom, skills and knowledge obtained from previous civilizations such as the Mayans and the Egyptians. My intuition has guided me to research a modern 20th century city in England, in the UK, called Milton Keynes. As the sign clearly suggests, Milton Keynes is certainly a city that is unique and different by design compared to other cities, as we shall be seeing in this video. I have a personal connection to the city of Milton Keynes. It is a city which I lived in from the early to the mid 1980s whilst growing up, attending school and as an adult regularly coming back to visit the city, as well as working within the city in the corporate field for a few years. From a very early age, I've always felt the city and the energy there was different compared to other towns and cities, and didn't know why at the time. Many people who visit the city for the first time often comment how the city feels different or even strange. Milton Keynes was the last and the largest, as well as being suggested the most controversial towns to ever be built in the UK. It was one of the new towns to be created in the third wave of the new town developments that had commenced in 1946 after the war to cope with the increased numbers in population and act as overspills of cities like London and Birmingham. When planning started in the city in 1967, there were around 40,000 people already living in the four surrounding towns: Bletchley, Stony Stratford, New Bradwell and Wolverton, as well as in the 13 villages, covering a total area of 9,000 hectares or 22,000 acres. These later became districts of the new city. We are told its earliest settlements were from the Stone and Bronze Age periods. It is said that the city of Milton Keynes purposefully built on and around a ley line. This ley line is sometimes referred to as the Midsummer Energy Line. Here we see the Becker-Hagens grid, which was designed by Beth Hagens in 1984. This is an example of part of the Earth grid, sometimes referred to as the crystalline grid. It shows how ley lines connect with major energy centre points on the grid around the world. The number 2 cross point, when you look on the close-up image, happens to be the area where Milton Keynes is located, showing two ley lines interconnecting with each other. It just so happens in the same year, in 1984, that this grid was published, I was attending for a short while a newly built Catholic school in Milton Keynes, where the head teacher just happened to be Danish. No surprise then that the Midsummer Ley line, as you can see, starts from Denmark. The Becker-Hagen's grid is one piece of evidence that shows how sacred geometry governs the physical universe's structure. The grid confirms and shows how certain points and sites are perfectly aligned and connected to each other on the crystalline Earth grid. The ley line you can see running across the width of England is the Midsummer Ley line, which is where Milton Keynes is built on. This is not to be confused with the other famous ley line known as St Michael's Ley line, as shown on the image on the right. They both look very similar, but have different start and end points, and the energy flows in opposite directions. They do, however, both intersect at the same point at Glastonbury in the southwest of England. Glastonbury is also known as the heart chakra point of the Earth. The name Milton Keynes doesn't come from, as some people think, from a combination of the names of the poet John Milton and the economist Maynard Keynes. The town was built around a village whose name dates back to the 13th century. The original Milton Keynes, with its traditional cottages, thatched pub and church, was in the centre of an area designated for development of a new town in 1967. Today it renamed itself Middleton. After its first mention in the Domesday Book in 1067, when it was called Middletone, an Old English word for middle farmstead. By the 13th century it had become Middletone Keynes, after the village's feudal masters, the de Keynes. John Milton, the poet, is said has no connection with the area at all. With the coming of the Normans around the 11th century, the original Anglo-Saxon village, Middlefarm or Middleton, became known as Middletone Keynes under the Norman lord of the manor de Keynes. This later became Milton Keynes. The city is based on the North American style grid road network, which for the UK is very rare indeed. We are told it was specifically designed this way to improve Britain's relations with North America at the time. All the main roads have either a prefix of H or V to indicate whether they run horizontally or vertically along the grid. The city has been designed to represent the past, the present and the future. The forefront of its unique futuristic design is what they suspected towns would look like and how people would be living in the future. Its plan was to create a city to be home to 250,000 inhabitants. In June 2011, the borough population figure stood, as we are told, at 249,900. From this information that we were given, it is safe to say that the city achieved its target to become home to a population of 250,000 people by the year 2012. The estimated budget for the creation of the new city was £700 million, or 840 million US dollars. There is nothing I could find out there to suggest what the overall final costs were to create the city. This may suggest the project may have had either an unlimited or an open wallet budget to create the city. It was also designed as a temple to the sun. The urban plan called for the streets to be arranged in a neat grid pattern aligned along the north-south and east-west axis, similar to a giant compass. The main feature and focal point of the city is the central Milton Keynes shopping centre, which, when it was first opened, was the largest shopping centres in Europe. It comprises 2 adjacent shopping malls, the Grade 2 listed building, which opened in 1979, and an additional shopping centre was added and opened in the year 2000. This is called a Midsummer Ley shopping centre. The complex currently stands as the 14th largest shopping centre in the UK. It has a space of 120,773 square metres, or just under 1.3 million square feet. It features 3 miles of shopfronts. The shopping centre was opened on the 25th of September 1979 by the then Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. The building's sleek envelope at the time accommodated 130 shops, 6 department stores, and was arranged along 2 parallel day-lit arcades planted with subtropical and temperate trees. The mall is 720 metres long, which is just under half a mile, or 2,362 feet long. In 1997, the centre, Milton Keynes Shopping Centre, was entered in the Guinness Book of Records as the world's longest shopping mall at the time. The creation of the new city of Milton Keynes was designed by a government order of the 23rd of January 1967, which was overseen by the Milton Keynes Development Corporation, which was formally established on the 13th of March 1967. The first chairman, Lord Campbell, was on the board of the Development Corporation from its start in 1967 to 1983. Jock Campbell, Baron Campbell of Esken as he's known as, was reported that his family profited from the slave trade. After spending much of his career as chairman of the board of Booker McConnell, the West Indian sugar producers, Lord Campbell decided at the age of 55 that it was time to retire. Shortly after this, he was asked to become the chairman of the board of Milton Keynes Development Corporation in order to oversee the development of the new city. He stepped down from the post as chairman of Milton Keynes Development Corporation in 1983 to be replaced by Sir Henry Chilver, who remained in post until the Milton Keynes Development Corporation was wound up on the 1st of April 1992, which happens to be April Fool's Day. Many people may not be aware that Evelyn Rothschild, who is one of the richest people in the world, was also involved in the creation of Milton Keynes. The people have not heard of that family name before. It's certainly worth researching the family name to learn more about the family name. He was the deputy chair for the Milton Keynes Development Corporation from 1971 to 1984. Evelyn Rothschild is a British financier. He earned his wealth as a member of the well-known Rothschild family, and through his career in international finance, which includes serving as the financial advisor for Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. At this point, it's worth mentioning that although Milton Keynes has normally been referred to as the new city, it has never had the official status to be called a city. Therefore, technically, it's always been a town. The city status of an area in the UK is awarded by the Queen through an application process. However, on the 20th of May of this year, 2022, it was officially announced that the city had finally been awarded official city status, so it can now be truly called a city. This was to celebrate the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. Milton Keynes has been applying for the status as a city on several previous occasions, and the applications have always been unsuccessful. After 55 years since construction first began in 1967, at the time when the Milton Keynes Development Corporation was created. As mentioned previously, it also happened to be at the age of 55 that Jock Campbell, the first chairman of MKDC, was asked to become the chairman of the corporation. Is that a coincidence? Here we see a photo that was taken in the 1970s with a green minibus with the MKDC logo outside Wavendon Tower, where the offices of the MKDC were located. This tower has a fascinating history itself. Here we have an archived news article from the BBC referencing to the Wavendon Tower and its secret history during World War II. Wavendon Tower, a large former country house, was used by the intelligence services during the Second World War, most famously for the broadcast of black propaganda into occupied Europe. The large Central Park in the city was originally called City Park, which was later renamed in the honour of Campbell to Campbell Park. There is a memorial stone by the fountain in his honour with a Latin inscription, as you can see in the image. The translation of this is, "If you seek a monument, look about you," referring to the urban landscape created by him and his team. Lord Campbell was considered as the father of the new city, Milton Keynes. Milton Keynes is located and built upon a large area of clay soil. Previously, there were numerous clay pits in the area, or clay quarries, which were used to make red building bricks. Red bricks are known for their energy storage capabilities. A study from the Washington University in St. Louis, US, where the assistant professor of chemistry, Julio Darcy, published a study which stated, "It is possible to convert red bricks, some of the world's cheapest and most familiar building materials, into energy storage units that can be charged and hold electricity like a battery." Milton Keynes is located in Buckinghamshire, England, which is about 50 miles or 80 kilometres northwest of London. It was part of what's called the Golden Triangle. This is a term that was initially used to describe the grouping of high-elite, high-funded universities located in the southern English cities of Oxford, Cambridge and London. These universities are prominent in the world of education, innovation, or the knowledge sector, both in the UK and on a global scale. The University of Oxford and the University of Cambridge form two corners of the triangle, while London's Imperial College, University College London and King's College London, and also the London School of Economics and Political Science make up the third corner. The city has numerous connections and links with the US. Here we can see the Circle of Hearts medicine wheel, which was designed by Roy Littleson in the year 2000 to mark the new millennium. The medicine wheel is a stone structure set on sacred green space in Leylines, North Park in Milton Keynes. The stones have been positioned to be in alignment with the Earth's natural, powerful energies. And it is said that if prayers are offered at the centre or source of the wheel, those wishes are amplified. The wheel is made up of 108 limestones. Limestone happens to be very rich in the quartz crystals, which are imported from the village of Western Underwood. Native chiefs from the Onondaga tribe in North America came to Milton Keynes and spent their time praying and smoking their pipes of peace over the stones. The wheel has 4 large gateways which represent the 4 compass points, the seasons, the races and the 4 elements. The lesser 2 gateways on the outer circle are aligned along the Earth's natural energy line. This sign confirms the Midsummer Ley line which runs through the city of Milton Keynes. The outer and inner circles symbolise our outer and inner worlds, the universe and humanity within. Here is an aerial image overlooking the city centre, looking from Campbell Park towards the railway station at the far end of the city. The city looks like a giant circuit board. It's interesting, in the bottom left hand corner of the inner grid we have a giant indoor entertainment complex featuring a multiplex movie theatre, real ski slope and restaurants. The complex is called Escape, spelled XSCAPE, which happens to be an anagram of Elon Musk's SpaceX. Looking at the image and the shape of the complex, it happens to look like some kind of spacecraft which has landed. Here we see the blue line on the left representing Avery Boulevard. To the right, the red line representing Silbury Boulevard. Both these represent the famous Stonehenge stone circle area in the UK. The green centre line represents Midsummer Boulevard. Silbury Hill, which is what Silbury Boulevard is named after, is a prehistoric artificial chalk mound near Avebury in the English county of Wiltshire, composed mainly of chalk and clay, same soil type which Milton Keynes is built on, which was excavated from the surrounding area. The mound stands at 40 metres or 131 feet high and covers an area of 5 acres. This mound was constructed in several stages between 2400 and 2300 BC. It is all part of the Stonehenge, Avebury and associated sites which fall under the UNESCO World Heritage Site. It is the tallest prehistoric man-made mound in Europe and one of the largest in the world, similar in size to some of the smaller Egyptian pyramids on the Giza Pyramid Complex. Silbury Hill is part of the complex of Neolithic monuments near Avebury, which includes the Avebury Ring and the West Kennet Long Barrow. The green line in the centre represents Midsummer Boulevard, which is where the Midsummer Energy or Ley line passes through the centre of the city, which is perfectly aligned with the summer solstice sunrise. The sunrise used to reflect through the centre of the city in the glass of the railway station at the other side. However, in the year 2000, a new additional shopping centre, Midsummer Place, was built in the centre of the boulevard, blocking the reflection from the station. Let's take a quick look at some of the construction materials used in constructing the city centre. The construction and materials in the construction of the main central shopping centre. The architecture clearly shows a relationship from the smallest parts to the largest elements, both on plan and elevation, with detailed joints and finishes, constructed from steel, glass and travertine. Travertine covers the whole interior floor space of the original shopping centre, as well as the planters, which you can see from the image, which run along both of the parallel shopping arcades. Considering the shopping centre has 3 miles of retail shopfront, this makes a rather large amount of travertine to be used in the construction of the flooring of the shopping centre. What is travertine? Travertine is a material similar to limestone. In fact, travertine actually is a type of limestone itself. Travertine typically forms in hot springs. It forms by the precipitation of calcium carbonate. Travertine is comprised mostly of calcite and quartz. It is well known for its capabilities to store and amplify energy. All the original public areas in the city centre were and still are paved and cladded with Cornish granite. If we take it from the railway station to the top of the city, it is a distance of 1.33 miles. If we include all the interconnecting areas, it covers a large expanse and length of space, which would cover many miles. Seems like rather large amount of granite in the construction in the public areas. Granite is a stone containing high concentration of energy responsive quartz crystal. Because of its crystalline structure, quartz has the ability to convert the Earth's natural electrical vibrations into usable energy by a property that is known as piezoelectricity. Many ancient sites, like Stonehenge, are constructed of metamorphic igneous rock containing high levels of quartz, such as granite. Also, all the original expansive parking areas were all paved with brick. All of the paving would have required a layer of high silica quartz sand in order to put the slabs on. This type of sand is known for energy amplification and storage, which is why we can see many ancient sites built around sandy areas or areas made of sandstone or rock due to their energetic properties. On the left, we have an image of the city looking from the railway station to Campbell Park. For comparisons, on the right, there is a Google Earth image showing the ruins of Karnak Temple in Luxor in Egypt. Some people refer to ancient sites as advanced technology on a gigantic scale. Karnak Temple is an example of a giant energy circuit board. City grids are also like gigantic circuit boards connected by channels of energy. Here we can see an example of a typical circuit board, one which is used in computing and electronics. As you'll be able to see, this typical circuit board looks very similar to the sites of ancient civilizations and also that of modern day cities. Let's compare the electronic circuit board with the plan of the city of Milton Keynes. Do they look very similar to you? Could you tell the difference which one is which? Let's take a look at Midsummer Boulevard. On the right, we can see the midsummer sunrise of the summer solstice, as seen from Midsummer Boulevard. To the left, notice the white area in the road in the tarmac. It contains a large amount of white quartz crystals. Originally, all the roads within the city centre had large quantities of quartz within the tarmac. As mentioned before, quartz is known for its high energy amplification and storage properties. By connecting the main central points along the roads within the city centre to the roundabouts, we get a pattern which highly resembles the Kabbalah Tree of Life. From this, it looks very likely that Milton Keynes is like a blueprint or a master plan, just like the Tree of Life. The Kabbalah Tree of Life and its life symbol. The tree has always been a symbol of life, renewal and energy. So it shouldn't be surprising that many different religions and even branches of science have used this mystical symbol to represent beliefs and ideals. There are many records throughout history that show the Tree of Life has been used in many different parts of the world during many different periods in time. In ancient Egypt, for instance, it is said the first couple, Isis and Osiris, emerged from an acacia tree, referred to as the Tree of Life. The Tree of Life for the Assyrians, on the other hand, was a symbol of crisscrossing lines and modes, which is what we've shown on the grid of Milton Keynes. In the Kabbalah, Tree of Life has various meanings and symbolism. It was used to show the path to God. It also represents how God created the world out of nothingness. It can be said, therefore, that the Tree of Life is some sort of map of creation. The 10 circles of the Tree of Life are symbols for the 10 spiritual centres. while the lines connecting these circles represent the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. When put together to form this powerful symbol, the tree of life represents the path one should take to connect to God or find union of the divine with one's physical self. As you can see, the tree of life contains 3 pillars. Milton Keynes also has 3 pillars: the Avery, Silbury and Midsummer boulevards, which run through the centre of the city. The top of the city, Campbell Park, would represent the Kafer, or otherwise known as the Crown Chakra, and the base of the city, where the railway station, could represent the root chakra. On the subject of chakras, many people are aware that the human body has got its own 7 chakras, or sometimes referred to as the energy points of the human body. Is it no surprise then that Milton Keynes would appear to have its own equivalent of the 7 chakras of the human body? Milton Keynes happens to have 7 roads connecting with the 3 pillars, similar to the tree of life. These 7 roads all contain the word gate at the end, as you can see on the right hand side of the image. If we start from the bottom end of the city by the railway station, we have a gate that's called Elder Gate. This could represent the city's root chakra. Going to the top end of the town of the city of Milton Keynes, we can see Overgate, which is where Campbell Park is. That could represent the Crown Chakra. The Milton Keynes Rose is located in the central city park, Campbell Park. It is a public space designed for commemoration, celebration and contemplation. The Milton Keynes Rose was created as a central civic space to host events, significance and occasions of remembrance. Created by the internationally renowned artist Gordon Young in 2014, the Milton Keynes Rose is an open-air circle with markings based on a precise mathematical beauty of a flower. This can be referred to as the flower of life, consisting of 106 granite pillars, all of varying height, as well as the granite used in the base. To me, the varying standing granite stones within the MK Rose remind me of standing batteries. Don't you think? At the centre of the MK Rose, which could be the bud, to me, however, this looks like a closed pine cone, or as some people might refer to as the closed pineal gland. From an aerial view of the MK Rose, we can quite clearly see the flower of life pattern. What is interesting, in the centre of this flower of life, we can see what looks like an eye, with the black centrepiece resembling the pupil of the eye. This reminds me of the all-seeing Eye of Horus symbol. From the pattern we have seen earlier in the video regarding the city centre matching the tree of life pattern, we can quite clearly place this tree of life pattern perfectly into the flower of life pattern, as you can see on this image. The flower of life is a mysterious drawing that, according to many civilizations, has had a regenerative effect on our bodies and helps us find a state of well-being. It's an esoteric symbol, one that could be described as universal. The flower of life is found as a basic structure in all advanced cultures in the world. The oldest known depictions of the flower of life were found in the temple of Osiris in Egypt, dating back at least 5,000 years. The study of the flower of life and sacred geometry takes us to a world where the infinite shapes and patterns of the universe intertwine. For some, it's an equation and a blueprint of life itself. 1.46 miles and 99.33 degrees east from the MK Rose in Campbell Park, there is a school which from the air looks very similar to the all-seeing eye of Horus, as you can see from the above image. This school just happens to be located in the village which Milton Keynes was named after. Let's take a look in more detail into what the all-seeing eye of Horus represents. The all-seeing eye of Horus has a spiritual meaning. It is a sign and symbol of seeing the messages in nature and harnessing our own psychic knowing to claim those untapped natural talents and inspirational creativity we have forgotten. With vision and clarity and the third eye open to spirit, but with total protection. Horus is always with us. It is said he resides at our forehead, otherwise known as the pineal gland, our all-seeing eye. The eye of Horus is said to awaken your personality and shine a light on your good side, revealing your true nature and intent. This happens to be one of the Masonic's most recognised symbols. On this image you can see how this image is used on a US dollar bill, and there's also how it's been used by the Egyptians as shown on the right with some Egyptian artwork at one of the Egyptian temples. By connecting some of the main features of Campbell Park, we get a picture resembling that of an obelisk. Obelisks were used by the ancient Egyptians and are also seen in the Masonic symbols. Interestingly enough, the base of the obelisk seems to form two X's. So I decided to look at the symbolic definition of the letter X, and this is what I found. X is the symbol of the sun god. Although a pyramid is usually perceived as it is viewed from the side with triangular faces, it forms an X in the box when viewed from above. An obelisk, when viewed from above, also represents an X in the box because it is capped with the pyramid. The attribute that represents the X from the heavens may have something to say about why the X is a sign of the sun god. It's no surprise then that Campbell Park and the city are perfectly aligned with the rising sun of the summer solstice sunrise. Let's now take a look at one of the ancient sites in Egypt and see the comparisons. The Karnak temple complex, commonly known as Karnak, comprises a vast mix of decayed temples, pylons, chapels, and other buildings near Luxor in Egypt. Construction at the complex in the period of the Middle Kingdom. The Middle Kingdom lasted from approximately 2040 to to 1782 BC. We do notice that the Middle Kingdom shares the same initials as Milton Keynes, MK. The construction then continued into the Ptolemaic Kingdom. In 1979, which happens to be the same year which Milton Keynes Central Shopping Centre officially opened, Karnak was inscribed on a UNESCO World Heritage List, along with the rest of the city. The Karnak complex gives its name to the nearby and partially surrounded modern village of El Karnak, 2.5 kilometres north of Luxor. It's quite strange, as Milton Keynes also happens to be named after a historical village, which again is 2.5 kilometres away. Karnak Temple has 134 columns in 16 rows, covering an area of 250 acres. The sandstone pillars are rich in crystal quartz. As we've mentioned, Milton Keynes is full of granite and crystalline crystals within its construction. This photo was taken on December the 21st, right down the long path across the Temple of Karnak. Unlike many monuments, such as that of Milton Keynes, with a solar theme that are orientated to the equinox sunrise due east, the Karnak's temple entire axis is orientated to the sunrise of the winter solstice, the day after which the sun seems to stop moving across the horizon for 3 days. There are numerous connections and theories out there linking Milton Keynes with the US, and in particular the US secret intelligence agencies. One project, for example, was MK Ultra, which was a top secret CIA project in which the agency conducted hundreds of experiments, sometimes on unwitting US citizens, to assess potential use of LSD and other drugs for mind control, information gathering and psychological torture. Though Project MK Ultra lasted from 1953 until about 1973, details of the illicit program didn't become public until 1975, during a congressional investigation into widespread illegal CIA activities within the US and around the world. The project lasted for around about 20 years. It just so happens that the World War II operations from the famous Bletchley Park in Milton Keynes, which was famous for decoding the Enigma codes, was also called Ultra. Could there be a connection here with the initials MK for Milton Keynes, or purely a coincidence, including the name Ultra used in both operations? Another example, in 1975, the US government and the CIA first began their investigation into what is today known as remote viewing. Again, this project lasted 20 years and we are told costed $20 million US. Much has been written about the US intelligence services conducting experiments into remote viewing. Remote viewing is the respectable modern term for second insight or clairvoyance. Now, a detailed account of one such experiment conducted by Drs. Half Puthoff and Russell Targ at the Stanford Research Institute in 1974. The program ran from 1975 to 1995 and ended after elevators reached the conclusion that remote viewers consistently failed to produce any actionable intelligence information. Why would a project last for 20 years, being invested with $20 million, suddenly come up with that after the 20-year period? Did they gather information that was valuable for them? Both of these projects were carried out during the construction period of Milton Keynes and also the Milton Keynes Development Corporation, which lasted for approximately 25 years. It raises a question: could the city of Milton Keynes have been intended to be some kind of form of experiment or even a project? It was since looking at the Karnak temple in Egypt when my attention was brought to the Karnak stone circles in Brittany, northern France. The Karnak in Egypt and Karnak in France sound very similar. The only difference is the letter K has been replaced with the letter C. Karnak stones are further evidence of an electromagnetic power of ancient stone circle sites around the world. Karnak in Brittany, northwest France, is one of the biggest megalithic sites in the world, consisting of over 4,000 stones aligned in up to 13 parallel lines, reaching over 4,000 feet in length. The stones were set up by ancient civilization that lived during the Neolithic era, which is at least 10,000 years BC. Let's take a look at some of the electromagnetic properties and energy properties of these stones. A leading researcher and electrical engineer, Pierre Moreau, in his study of Karnak, shows how its dolmens amplify and release telluric energy, otherwise known as earth energy, throughout the day. According to Moreau, the dolmen behaves as a coil or solenoid, in which currents are induced, provoked by variations which are weaker or stronger of the surrounding magnetic field. But these phenomena are not produced with intensity unless the dolmen is constructed with crystalline rocks rich in quartz, such as granite. Being very high in quartz, the rocks are piezoelectric, which means that they generate electricity when compressed or subjected to vibrations. The megaliths of Karnak, positioned as they are upon 31 fractures or fault lines of the most active earthquake zone in France. They are in a constant state of vibration, making the stones electromagnetically active. It demonstrates that these stones were not placed on this location by chance, particularly as they were transported from 60 miles away or 97 kilometers, but their presence and orientation is in direct relation to the terrestrial magnetism. Other studies suggest that sound and magnetism are both connected. Sound is what creates the magnetic fields. The moving electromagnetic fields create electricity. Notice Karnak in Egypt and Karnak in France sound identical. Why would they sound the same, being a continent apart and built during different times? Looking at the letter K, which can mean Kether, Kether is a Hebrew word meaning crown. So it would make sense Karnak, Egypt, is being spelt with the K due to its location. Notice, however, that the word kether also contains the word ether. Ether is the first of the 5 elements of the universe, as described by Aruda, a sister of science and of yoga. Her teachings state that the universe is composed of 5 elements: ether, air, fire, water, and earth. Ether is considered to be the most subtle of 5 elements. Ether is sometimes referred to as the space because it's the space that all other elements fill. Ether has the properties of lightness, airness, and spirituality. So the temple in Karnak could be referring to the kether, or the crown chakra. Karnak, being in France, in Europe, the sea would represent the crown chakra. Relating to Milton Keynes, we have Campbell Park, which could represent the crown chakra of MK. The letter K is also a symbol of power, such as king, and also used in kilowatts in electricity, for example. As mentioned previously in this video, ancient sites were quite possibly a form of advanced technology power plants on a gigantic scale. Here we have the Parthenon in Greece. As you can see, there's an amphitheatre next to it. The Parthenon is constructed out of a combination of limestone and marble. Again, these stones are rich in quartz crystal. The foundation of the building is limestone, while the columns are made of marble. Again, as mentioned, all these materials contain a large concentration of quartz. Amphitheatres are always connected to circuit boards. To activate it requires sound. One way to do this is by harvesting the human sound. And a way of doing this is to provide the audience in these auditoriums with either fear, music, or something to get the crowds to scream. As these waves are ways to activate the circuit boards to do whatever they were intended to do. Here we have a Google Earth image showing the Parthenon with 2 amphitheatres, one on either side. Milton Keynes also happens to have 2 amphitheatres. Respected researchers from the past and present believe human sound provides the energy to hold the matrix up in the sky. Great examples of these today are sports stadiums, cathedrals, and churches with their cone-shaped roofs. According to one of the greatest scientists of all time, Nikola Tesla, with his famous quote, "Sound is the ultimate source of free energy." Here we see the Colosseum in Rome, Italy, which is one of the world's largest amphitheatres, which is constructed of mostly tourmaline, a type of marble. This happens to be the same material as the interior flooring and interior cladding used in the interior of the main shopping centre in central Milton Keynes. Now, let's take a look back at Milton Keynes and its 2 amphitheatres. In this image, we can see the amphitheatre which is in Campbell Park. This amphitheatre is used for numerous various types of public events. If you look at the Google Earth image on the left, it seems to be quite strategically positioned next to an amphitheatre shape office block with a copper type roof, as you can see from the green colour on the image. Copper happens to be a highly conductive material. Is that coincidence that right next to the amphitheatre they've built office accommodation with a copper roof? Is that normal? The second and the largest amphitheatre in Milton Keynes is the National Bowl. This is located a short distance to the south of the city centre. It is an open-air grass amphitheatre with a capacity of over 65,000 people and has seen world-class performances from Queen, David Bowie, Robbie Williams, Bruce Springsteen, Take That and the Prodigy. The National Bowl was formerly called the Milton Keynes Bowl between the years 1979 and 1992, when it became known as the National Bowl. The bowl site was formerly a clay pit or quarry. In 1971, the first steps were made to develop the bowl, with approval granted for tipping the surplus soil at the bowl site from the road building work in the development of the new city of Milton Keynes. In 1973 saw the creation of a huge horse-shaped mound surrounding an area which could be utilised as an arena to host major public attended events. This is based on the idea of the Hollywood Bowl, again connection to the US. In 1977, earthworks completed and open-air concerts were discussed. This great venue hosted a galaxy of world-class entertainers, including Bon Jovi, Eminem, Green Day, Linkin Park, Oasis, Take That, and the Foo Fighters, and Robbie Williams. The first advertised concert to be held at the Milton Keynes Bowl was on the 8th of September 1979. This concert was called Soul in the Bowl, and it featured artists like the chairman of the board, Desmond Dekker, and the Aces, Geno Washington, and the Ram Jam Band. Ancient amphitheatres were known to harvest sound energy. Could the headline in a previous news article in the previous slide scream for me Milton Keynes, and the first ever concert being called Soul in a Bowl be a play with words or an indication of something a bit more sinister? Let's take a look at some more symbolism in the city centre. Approximately 3 miles southeast from the city centre, in a town called Bletchley, which is a district of Milton Keynes, there used to be a black pyramid. It housed a leisure centre containing a sports hall, squash courts, bowling green, youth centre, cafeteria, bars, and a swimming pool housed in a distinctive pyramid-shaped buildings, as you can see on the image. It had a total floor area of 6,713 square metres, or just over 72,258 square feet. The cost of the construction of the leisure centre was £1.1 million, or $1.32 million US. Construction of the centre and the pyramid began in September 1971. It was completed in the year 1974, taking approximately 3 years to be complete. The centre was demolished in the year 2010 to be replaced by a modern leisure facility. The pyramid and leisure centre have lasted for exactly 36 years. Bletchley Park, which is famous as the home to the top secret operations for the Allied code breaking during World War II, just happens to be located 0.66 miles west from where the Black Pyramid Leisure Centre once stood. It was here that some of the most talented mathematicians worked night and day to crack codes intercepted through enemy forces. Bletchley Park is said to have employed some 10,000 people. The mansion was constructed during the years following 1883 for the financier and politician Herbert Leon, designed in the Victorian Gothic, Tudor and Dutch Baroque styles, on the site of other buildings of the same name. What stands out to me in this design is the copper bell-shaped roof on the left. The Light Pyramid is located in the city's Campbell Park, which is at the easternmost end of Midsummer Boulevard. As you can see from this image, it is perfectly aligned with the summer solstice sunrise. The Light Pyramid, sometimes referred to as the Beacon, was designed by Lillian Lynch. It was commissioned in 2012 as part of the Campbell Park art plan to replace the original basket beacon, as it was situated on the Belvedere, which got hit by lightning in the year 2002, and as a result the beacon had to be removed. The Light Pyramid was first lit for the Queen Diamond's Jubilee on the 4th of June 2012 and is still lit to commemorate special local and national events. It is made of steel and painted white. The Light Pyramid overlooks and has great views of north-east Milton Keynes, as well as the neighbouring county of Bedfordshire. Here we see another pyramid-shaped building. This is the Point. The Point opened in 1985 and cost £7.5 million, which is a little over $9 million US. The building was called the UK's first multi-complex 10-screen cinema. Although the UK had already introduced multi-screen cinemas in the 1930s, the Point was once the centre of all things entertainment. It included a games arcade, a bingo hall and a nightclub. The front part of the building had a distinctive mirrored crystal ziggurat shape, framed by external steel beams at each corner, joined at the apex. Originally, it had red neon lights connecting the apexes at each side, resembling a red pyramid at night. With its famous red pyramid of light visible for miles around, it was described as a beacon of the future of Milton Keynes. However, after nearly 30 years, the building had become outdated, and the cinema was struggling to complete with the nearby entertainment complex Escape. The Point finally closed in February 2015. It is now starting to fall apart and is owned by a new property developer who plans to demolish the building and build £150 million, or just over 180 million US dollars worth of housing and commercial units to be replaced on this iconic site. Now, let's take a look at another ancient megalithic site. Here we are looking at Adam's calendar. It is suggested to be the oldest man-made structure in the world. sometimes referred to as the African Stonehenge. It predates both Stonehenge and the Great Pyramid of Giza by tens of thousands of years. It is located in Mpumalanga in South Africa. It is a standing stone circle of about 30 metres in diameter and has been estimated by some accounts to be more than 75,000 years old. Various astronomical alignments have been identified at the site, and it is possibly the only example of a completely functional, mostly intact megalithic stone calendar in the world. Some of the most latest and most interesting discoveries on the stone circles and Adam's calendar is that sound frequencies of rock formations from the earth below them. With modern technology, researchers and credible scientists have been able to detect and measure sound frequencies with acoustic properties made from the earth inside and the circles which conduct electricity. These sound frequencies of the earth under the stones are shaped as flowers of sacred geometry, otherwise known as the flower of life, as they surface on the ground. This is similar to the Milton Keynes rose in Campbell Park we've seen earlier in the video. The scientists have detected 375 plus gigahertz of sound energy being emitted from the circle. 375 gigahertz was the highest recording the devices were capable of recording, so it is certainly a lot higher than this. They've also recorded the horizontal energy sound frequencies emitted horizontally at a frequency of 1700 megahertz. It was also discovered that the sound frequencies travel vertically, and they've been measured at 1800 megahertz. It just so happens as well, connecting back to Milton Keynes, that all the roads in Milton Keynes have either a prefix of a H or a V followed by a numerical digit, then the name of the street, based on whether they are running horizontally or vertically along the city's grids. This then confirms that the energy from electromagnetic fields can travel both horizontally and vertically. Is this another reason why in Milton Keynes the roads have been significantly prefixed with the H and V to indicate how the energy and the sound waves travel within the city? Can granite stones be used to generate electricity and energy? Here we have an article from September 1956 from the Popular Mechanics publication. In this article, written by Dr. Harrison Brown, who's a professor of geochemistry at the California Institute of Technology, in his study he stated the high energy properties of granite rocks. He says, igneous rock contains all the energy that civilization can use. The energy in a single ton of granite is equal to 50 tons of coal. Granite rock holds immense quantities of valuable conductive metals. 100 tons of granite contains 8 tons of aluminum and 5 tons of iron, amongst other minerals. Could Milton Keynes possibly be connected to the Earth grid or the crystalline grid? It's interesting that there was a pop video that was recorded in the shopping centre in Milton Keynes in 1981. The building and its surrounding vicinity were used for the filming of a music video called Wired for Sound by Cliff Richard. Filming took place at the easternmost end of Midsummer Arcade, as well as outside Norfolk House and in nearby underpasses. Wired for sound. Another word for wired can be connected. Could this have been trying to tell us that Milton Keynes was connected to the Earth grid using the sound energy that's emitted from Leylines, which is beyond our scope of hearing? This could also indicate that why Milton Keynes was built with so much granite and materials containing high levels of quartz crystals, and it's connected and perfectly aligned with the midsummer solstice as well as other sites around the world.